On this episode, zero considerations on price. Hey everybody, this is the quarter show and we're talking about having zero considerations on price. You know, I knew this guy years ago and I was back in college and I worked at it was actually a dealership. I was in college just working at a car dealership. It was a luxury car dealership and really nice establishment in fact. And so that was an interesting experience, but I was like a sales admin, sales assistant back in the day and years ago. And there was this one guy that he sold Cadillacs. The dealership sold Cadillacs, and it was kind of like the Neiman Marcus of car dealerships. Everything was very posh in there, and chandeliers and big, huge, black tile and gorgeous facility. And he sold, typically he sold $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 loaded out Escalades and DTS, Cadillacs, the DeVille DTS and things like that. And usually the higher end items and he sold a lot of cars. He was the number one salesperson in the dealership and had been there for like 25 years and just did incredibly well. And so you picture this guy that kind of wore Prada suits and very, well put together. And then one of the things that I noticed about this guy was that he had zero attention or consideration on price. Like nothing, like it didn't even register, right? And so if the sticker said 67,000, it didn't register with him. Like it wasn't a thing. There wasn't a problem there. There was nothing that sort of stuck his attention. He wasn't like, oh gosh, what's the prospect going to think, or what's the customer going to think? It was just like, yeah, it's 67,000, and that was just a logistical thing, and he didn't put any attention on it, and he had zero consideration on it, and therefore, it sort of created a zero consideration thing for the customer to some degree, and I've always found that to be incredibly powerful in sales. That if you have zero considerations on the price of something, on what you're selling, it's a very powerful thing as a salesperson if you don't have any attention at all. So you need to handle yourself on your own price. So if the thing that you're selling, the ticket of it is $30,000 or $50,000 or $1 million or $5,000 for that matter, if you have zero sort of resistance or thought, or you don't sort of flutter or blink an eye at that price, and that confidence sort of comes across when you're on the phone and you've handled yourself where it's just not anything, you have zero attention on it. I cannot stress enough how that's going to help you in sales with whatever you're selling, because it makes it no longer a barrier. And if it's not a barrier for you, if it's not an objection for you, it's not going to be an objection for them. It may come up and you may have to handle it, but I think one of the biggest hurdles is actually the salesperson themselves having a thought or consideration or barrier or objection to the price. And because they think it's a lot of money, or they have a feeling it's a lot of money, or they have a feeling that the prospect or the customer is going to think it's a lot of money, or they're worried that it's going to come up, all this commotion around this idea of price and money is going to create an obstacle within the sale, right? And so if you can handle yourself and get that completely out of the way, you are light years ahead on any sale. It's going to make your life a lot easier. So when you're looking at your price model and you're looking at what you sell, really be candid with yourself and really look at every single item and think, are you sold on it? Are you sold on the price itself, right? And if you have a consideration or you have some kind of flutter related to, like a back off or something related to the price, or a hesitation telling people about it, then I would challenge you to sort of drill, practice drilling or coming up with drills that you can do internally or with another sales rep, or just even working on your pitch, or even learning behind the scenes the mechanics to produce that product or what goes on behind the curtain in your company that comes up with that price, and the more reality you have on that, the more you realize what sort of engineering goes into it, how many people have to support that product, where did that price come from, and the more you understand where all the expenses and everything that goes into the product, and you start building value in your own mind, and you get to a point where you realize that price is absolutely nothing, or that price is incredibly fair comparative to the market value, or however you want to handle it. But you need to get to the point where you think nothing, essentially, of the price, right? It's not a problem for you. It's not a barrier. It doesn't create any bizarre phenomena for you. And when you get there, your life in sales becomes a lot easier, because it conveys quite a bit of confidence on the phone. The prospect will pick it up if you do have a problem there. If there is some consideration there, if you have a consideration on price, they're also going to have a consideration on price. That much I can guarantee you.
Yeah,
right?
I know that for me, when I first started with Richter, we had a product that was $1,000 a pop, and I had never been in sales before.
Yeah.
But and Robert told me right out the gate, we talked about all sorts of different things in sales, because he had to build me from the ground up, right? I was nothing in sales. And so we got around to price, it was $1,000. And, to me, at the time, I had a lot of thoughts and ideas and fears and confusions about money and stuff like that. And so, okay, cool, I'll have no consideration. I get on the phone, I'd be like, so it's $1,000, And it was like, and most of the time, because the price was so low for what we were exchanging, that it actually didn't make any difference to the prospect how I said it, but it was in me, and it did affect the conversation at the time and stuff like that. And the thing is, there can be a lot of reasons why you might have some reservation on any price for any product that you sell or that another is selling or anything like that. But when it comes down to it, first of all, it is a totally useless thought and feeling. And you're bringing it, if you have it, you're bringing it to the conversation yourself. It is not there already. And so to bring it to the conversation, it's like not writing a large dollar figure on your lineup for your quota for the week because you have a thought about what's too much or what's possible. Yeah. There's no penalty for saying, I'm going to go accomplish this. There's no penalty for saying, my price is X. Right? There's no penalty at all. Now, there's lots of ways to handle it. Rob's covered a lot of the ways to handle yourself, to handle, get yourself by the scruff of your neck. Go and look, what's the track record of the sales in your company? Is there a salesperson who's successful? How were they successful? I guarantee you it wasn't magic, it wasn't a sales trick. It was a good piece of it had to do with this. They don't have any thought about it. They're just like, it's worth this.
They have no thought about it.
They have no thought about it at all. It's worth this. Go find out, just like Rob said, why is it worth that? And you go into what's it take to build and what's it, this and that and the other thing. And then you go like this. You go like with Richter, right? You could go into Richter and you go, what's it take to build this? Okay, good. Okay, that's a lot of work. Now, what's it take what does another agency take to build it? Oh, it's the same. So Richter's price should be the same as his other company. Okay, now you need to really understand what your company brings to the table. And I understand what Richter brings to the table, and we're undercharging. And that, unfortunately, I bring to the table sometimes too, because even if you undercharge, you'll bring that to the table, and you won't want to sell it as readily. So you have to watch yourself on all areas. You have to be it is not a thought. My price is this. This is what we exchange. You give me that, I'm going to give you this, and away we go, and we're all going to be super happy.
Right.
That's really what it comes down
to. I think the not a thought way is a great way to put it as well, like Ben said, because it's just, there should be no thought on it, right? And sometimes we joke around and talk about the Starbucks, for example. You go to Starbucks in the morning, and unless you're on the East Coast and you go to Dunkin' Donuts, barely no Starbucks over there. I went over to Boston recently, and
whole other country.
Can't find one anywhere. But you go to Starbucks in the morning, and obviously the person who doing the register, they don't have any thought on the idea that it's $3.56 for an Americano. There's no consideration there. And I know it's a silly concept, but you use that and you think, they don't think anything. It's just like, good, you want this coffee, here's the card, done, swipe it, do you want your receipt, right? And even though it's a silly analogy or kind of a funny analogy, it is that same demeanor. that clearly that person at Starbucks has zero thought on it, right? They don't have any thought on the price.
Yeah, and to the degree that you do have any thought on it, the cycle of action of selling them will be about the price.
Right.
It'll become about the price to the degree that you have some thought on it, because it really, you're not there to haggle. That's not what your job is as a salesperson. It's to bring the help that your company offers in a fair exchange for goods.
Certainly if you're an entrepreneur or in sales, right? Like your job is not to reprice or come up with considerations about price. Your job is to be sold.
Or to establish the value.
Yes, to be sold on the product or service and to sell others on it as well. And so like we just talked about earlier as well, like if you're not there, then go walk the manufacturing floor if you're in manufacturing. If you're in creative, go walk the creative floor. Go learn what goes into the creative. Go learn to why is the price what it is, right? If you're in development or you're a platform or you're a SaaS software, it's like, why is it this price, right? What goes on to it? How many people have to go in to sort of make this thing work or whatever it is, until you're at the point where you get to that sort of no thought on price, because that is gold in sales, because that creates confidence, and confidence sells like crazy. And again, if there's nothing that registers related to price, then it's going to create less of an obstacle on your prospect side, right, in that sales cycle, and it's less of a thing that you have to tackle, right? I know for us here, we have something called the product box, and when I look at everything in our product box, I have what Ben said, no thought on price at all, on anything that we deliver. And I'm really proud of that, because I know our price is here and value what we deliver is here. We're always fairly priced, we're always under market, and we always dramatically deliver greater value comparative to price. Now I know companies and agencies that are out there that do, in my opinion, gouge. And so if I worked at that agency, I would have to figure out how to overcome, well, I either wouldn't work there, number one, or number two, I would have to overcome or understand what's going in. And in those agencies, I think their argument is going to be that they've built, the talent. So you look at a sports team, you look at the New England Patriots, or you look at the Seattle Seahawks, or you look at the, San Francisco Giants. It's like, the argument I think it would be that they've built a roster of talent that brings that price. And so I think as a salesperson in any company, you have to really look at it and think, where is this price coming from? Where is that value? And get yourself to the point of zero thought, right?
Yeah, and it is, I know we got to end off shortly, but it is, along with walking the product floor or seeing how the product's made, we could talk a whole show about intrinsic value. And, like Richter doesn't make video. Right, we're a communication strategy agency, and that's not just talk. That's actually what Richter has been for a long time, and it's the essential character of what we are. So when we come to the table, anyway, I'm not going to give the Richter pitch right now, but what I'm saying is that's the real value. It's not the number of hours that an animator has their bottom in a chair and this and that. Yeah, we have to charge for hours of work, but that's really not what our value is. So you have to understand whatever that is. Don't think, if you think your company is just like another, I don't know what to tell you. I wouldn't go down that route.
No, you
probably
can't.
Couldn't sell for a company who is just like another.
You can't. You have to be firmly, become evangelist on what you do. You have to be really sold on your product, but that includes being really sold on the price, right? Yes. So yes, when we say, are you sold? You have to be sold on the product, but you have to be sold on the price as well. And to the degree that you get to that zero thought, it's not a thing. It's going to make your life a lot easier. Focus on doing that. Focus on putting that into effect, and we will have more coming at you very soon here. Okay, hope that helped. Make sure to subscribe to the channel, and if you like the content, share it. Share it on social. Share it on LinkedIn and Twitter and things like that. We would love to see that as well.
Get us out there. It's awesome.
Yeah. Thanks very much for watching.